Talofa, and welcome to episode 4 of Intersections Talanoa Podcast. My name is Ainsley Aiono, and I am your host today, interviewing student researcher Jacob Fawson. Jacob is currently taking Pacific Island Studies 375, Environmental Issues and Resource Management class, taught by Dr. Line Kruse, our editor, where he is conducting research with goals to present his scholarship at the Undergraduate Research Conference this next year, and submit his manuscript to Intersections Undergraduate Research Journal. Jacob is a sophomore majoring in biology conservation with minors in Pacific Island Studies and Education. He is currently conducting research on coral reefs and Oahu ecosystems. All right. Talofa, Jacob.
Talofa, Ainsley. Thank you so much for having me on here today.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. We are so excited to get to know you and your research a little bit better today. So we're just going to start right off. I don't know if you've seen any of our past episodes, but we usually like to keep it lighthearted around here, start off with something fun. Last week we did something new called Tongan Trivia with Hemuli Paletua, and that was so much fun. But Jacob, I hear that you are actually from Kansas State. Is that correct?
Yes, I was raised there. I lived there for 15 years before I moved out here. So
awesome.
Proud Kansan right here.
Okay, perfect. Well then, with that, we are going to go into our segment for this episode, which is Kansas Trivia.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Okay, awesome. So I just have a couple questions for you to see how well you really know your home state. So I want you to tell me the Kansas State bird, flower, and then to finish it off, I want you to sing the Kansas State song if you know it.
The state bird is the western yellow-bellied meadowlark.
Okay.
The flower is a sunflower, and then the state song is Home on the Range. Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home on the range. Anyway, and then he goes on. But
wow, thank you so much. I feel like we just got like a free performance here. Okay, now just kind of a follow-up. I'm going to ask you the same questions.
Okay.
But for here in Hawaii.
Okay.
Do you know the Hawaii state bird, the Hawaii state flower, and even just like the title of the Hawaii state song? Or if you know it, you could sing it too.
Oh, I have no idea what the bird is. No, not even a clue. The flower, best guess is Ohia, but I don't know if that's true. The song, is it the Hawaii national anthem? Or
yeah,
I don't know it, but I know like that's what it is.
Yeah, Hawaii Pono'i. Okay. Yes, that's okay. You've been busy doing your research on Oahu coral reefs and the ecosystems. You haven't had time to look at the birds and the flowers. That's like the next phase, right?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, okay. No worries. Thanks so much for playing our trivia. And you really proved that you are a true Kansan. Is that what you guys are called?
Yes, that's the term.
And so we just are going to go into some of our questions now about you and your research. But before going strictly into your research, I do want to know a little bit more about you. You said that you lived in Kansas for 15 years before coming out here to school in Hawaii. But yeah, can you just tell me a little bit more about where you're from and what brought you out here to Hawaii? And do you have any like connections out here? Are you the first of your family to attend BYU Hawaii? So yeah, what is that like for you?
Yeah, so most of my extended family lives in Utah now, but my parents met at BYU, got married there, moved to Iowa. I was born in Iowa and then moved to Kansas, and I've been there ever since. We moved there about 2006, I think, and that's where my parents and little sister still are. But what brought me to Hawaii is actually my grandpa. My grandpa served his mission in the Hawaii Honolulu mission back in 1966, I believe. And he always told me stories of his mission and how awesome it was. And then my grandmother, his wife, would tell me she had the opportunity to live here in Laie when she was a sophomore in high school because her dad taught science here at the CCH at the time. And so I just kind of had some family connections there, and I wanted to get somewhere so far away from home. I was like, I'm ready for something far away, something different. And then a big thing about Hawaii was the diversity that it offers. And because back home, I grew up in the suburbs of Wichita, Kansas, which is a predominantly white community. And so I didn't really have the opportunity to meet people from different cultures and different countries until I moved here. And so that's been really incredible being here. Um, but yeah, and then the Holokai curriculum that the school offers was also something that intrigued me, the major and two minors. It gives me an opportunity to kind of branch out and actually study things I want to study and not just be taking these general classes that are seemingly irrelevant to my major.
That's so awesome. I love that you have that kind of like familial connection through your grandparents and also through BYU Hawaii, but also the church college, and through your grandpa's mission and all of that. So that's super awesome that you have that. But also just having BYU Hawaii as like kind of like you said, a fresh start and kind of just somewhere to offer new opportunities to learn new things and all of these awesome ways. So thank you so much. But yeah, so now I just want to learn a little bit more about your research. But you touched on a little bit your majors and minors and how those kind of exist for you in the Holokai program that we have here at BYU Hawaii. And I love our Holokai program. And so I guess for you, being a biology conservation major and having minors in Pacific Island Studies and Education, how do those all play a role for you personally? How do those all come together? And more specifically, how do those come together in your research? Do they impact your research or influence your research in terms of like the lens that you're examining these through? How does that work?
Yeah, so my major is biology. I've known since I was a little kid that I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to go study new animals, new things, go to new places. And I've had plenty of opportunities to do that in my major and with my job as a research assistant for Dr. Saucier. And so biology has just been awesome because it's something I love. And then Pacific Island Studies was something that was unique. It was different, but it was interesting. And it was something that helped me better understand other cultures and new spaces and how I can be better at just understanding how other cultures are and how I can still be friends with them and love them, even though I have absolutely no idea the background they're coming from. And so that was something really awesome when I took Pacific Island Studies 105 with Dr. Crusades. I was able to see that and it kind of solidified that, yeah, this is the minor I want to pursue. And then education is something that I'm passionate about. It's important to be able to be taught and to learn new things. And good educators in this world are super important, and they've pushed me to become better. And I just love working with youth and with kids. And so the education minor has been fun in that aspect. And they all kind of come together because when you're working in conservation biology, it's extremely important to understand the cultural aspect. We call it the traditional ecological knowledge in our ecology classes and our biology classes. So that way you can understand the views of the indigenous people and the views of the scientist perspective. Because when you combine those views, the perspective is so much broader and there's so much more that you understand. And so that's kind of a really big thing I've pulled away from Pacific Island Studies. And then education, I mean, your conservation efforts are going to be great, but if you're not working and sharing and helping others understand how they can be better stewards and better conservationists on this planet, then our work's not going to be as successful and significant as it could be. And so bringing that all together, just the holokai that I've created is just incredible, and I'm really happy with it. And in my research paper, they all come together too, because obviously it's a biological paper, it's coral reefs and their ecosystems. And then there's parts in it where I talk about the cultural significance, where I talk about the kumulipo and what the coral polyp means to Kanaka Maoli people of Hawaii. And then there's parts in the paper where I talk about educational methods. I mean, we need to be able to help people understand why we need to save these reefs. Because for me, I knew, like, when I moved here, I was like, coral's just rock. Like, why is that important? And now I've been able to see that it's so much bigger. Like, it's not only, if it was a rock, it's a huge rock. Like, those things are massive. And so it's just been really cool to be able to put all of that together in one paper and express my views and beliefs and be able to incorporate the views of Indigenous people as well, because that's something that I'd never even considered until I moved here.
I so enjoyed hearing how all of those components both like speak to you personally and through your academic journey, and how that all makes up your experiences here at BYU and in your research. So that's so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So my next question is kind of I think it's so awesome that you are conducting your research and having it be land-based, and you're examining the coral here on Oahu, and going through all of that. What are some of the most like interesting things that you've learned through your research, or like anything that has surprised you, or just maybe your favorite aspects of it so far?
Yeah, I just really liked, just learning more. Learning's always been something I've loved. And one thing that has just been really the biggest thing that I learned that I was like, what is what they do down at Waikiki with the sand? Like, you and I know that Waikiki is tourist number one, like tourists flock there like none other. I don't understand why. And what they do is they have to keep the sand there. So, tourists can come, they can take pretty pictures. But what's happening is they're taking the sand and they're recycling it almost. So the sand gets washed away from erosion, which is a natural process that just breaks down rocks and pulls beaches away. And so the sand gets pulled out by the ocean, and then it ends up landing on coral reefs way out there. And so naturally, what they do is they just take the sand back and put it back on the beach. And sure, maybe it makes the beach nice for a minute and there's not as much sand on the reefs, but the method is so, when you're looking at it from the reef perspective, it just keeps putting the sand back on it and choking out the reefs. And there's really not a great way to approach it because of what has been done to Waikiki and what it is now. So that's just kind of sad. But it was really interesting to learn about, and like why they do that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on down in Waikiki, and it's a lot of like crazy things to learn about and see. Like you said, like the long-term impacts of these seemingly harmless things, but really we can look at it in the greater scheme of things. Yeah, that's so awesome. Thank you. So I'm interested to know if like kind of what your future plans or goals are after graduation, maybe even just like in general. I know you're a sophomore, so you have plenty time to think and plan out, but in general, just like in what your goals are for post grad, do you think that the research that you're doing now, and sounds like you're learning so many new things, do you think that these are going to have like lasting impacts, just not throughout the rest of your education here at BYU Hawaii, but also after the fact?
I do. I think that the research that I've been doing that's been focusing kind of on incorporating both native perspectives and scientific perspectives is something that's going to be really powerful, because what I really want to do after I graduate is I kind of want to get into the national park system, work as a park ranger, and I think that'd be super fun, because like nature for me has always been just a safe space. There's no one out there judging you. It's just you, this giant rock, beautiful sky. Like, nature is just awesome. And so I think working in the national parks would give me an opportunity to be out there in nature often and to help conserve it and establish the beauty in the park so that other people can enjoy the same experiences I've shared. and at the same time learning the traditional knowledge and help to magnify education about that in the parks, in places where there may be little or even no mention of the indigenous people. Because when I learn of the sacredness and of certain spaces, like it just makes it even more beautiful. Like Mauna Kea, I've never been there, but and like knowing the perspective behind it, it's just a gorgeous space to even just look at pictures of.
That's great. I think that's so awesome that you want to be a park ranger, and I love your reasonings and how it's very like grounded in yourself and your surroundings and everything. So that's wonderful. Jacob, thank you so much for joining us today on our Intersections Talanoa podcast. I loved speaking with you, getting to know more about you and your research and everything that you're learning, and I'm learning just as well and just right alongside you. So thank you for sharing that with us today. And I can't wait to see everything that is in store and for all the amazing things coming up. So Fafatai, Jacob, and see you in the Coconut Wireless.
Thank you so much.
So far, so